A remarkable disclosure has generated fury in South Africa. A confidential account has allegedly surfaced incriminating the executive immediately in the mysterious concluding periods of previous administrator Nzimande. Intelligence that has transmitted astonishment surges through governmental and journalism networks. What commenced as whispers of criminal activity has currently escalated up into a comprehensive national controversy with charges of a concealment at the supreme tiers of authority. As characterized by confidants who have observed the materials of the revealed material, the account charts out a sequence of correspondence, gatherings, and measures implemented by supreme administrators in the periods before Nzimande's demise. It is a representation of severe governmental complexity, confidentiality, and interference that might transform the manner South Africans perceive their command permanently. Before we advance into the realities, do ensure to follow, activate that announcement indicator, and approve this recording because the consequences of this narrative could disturb the precise foundations of South Africa's governmental hierarchy. The material stated to be from Supreme Protection Contacts was disclosed to examining reporters towards the conclusion of previous period. It is stated to possess telephone documentation, internal communications, and moment-by-moment gathering documentation suggesting administrators in the executive were not only aware to what was transpiring surrounding Nzimande's concluding periods, but could have not revealed essential intelligence to the community. One of the contacts of the examination depicted it as the most troubling disclosure in contemporary recollection, claiming that it is generating substantial uncertainties over openness, responsibility, and the governance of regulation among the supreme tiers of administration. Another contact claimed that if the discoveries are validated, this could ignite one of the most substantial governmental emergencies in South Africa's representative period. During the periods before he perished, Nzimande was stated to have been completing a collection of extremely confidential internal materials. The documents supposedly possess proof of extensive monetary misuse in a quantity of administration departments involving powerful governmental forces and governmental establishments. His associates and intimate peers subsequently disclosed that Nzimande had been acquiring more and more apprehensive, repeatedly expressing about being pursued and monitored. Some maintain he apprehended for his security and had even confessed that he was arranging to advance community with his discoveries. The disclosed material also documents that on the evening of his demise, Nzimande's protection personnel was abruptly modified. This declares the document was a choice implemented by administrators allegedly associated to the executive. To examiners and evaluators, this reality is intensely troubling. Was it a coincidence or a deliberate maneuver to maintain the previous administrator in vulnerability? These inquiries unresolved have generated assent to speculation that essential intelligence concerning Nzimande's concluding periods was intentionally concealed. The account also incorporates a sequence, a meticulous restoration of communications, electronic messages, and confidential correspondence between Nzimande and Supreme Administration administrators. Though some identities have been obscured for juridical objectives, multiple contexts suggest the unobscured edition identifies prominent executive consultants and confederates. If precise, this might signify that those individuals in the executive possess both capacity of understanding Nzimande's movements and probable intentions to prevent his disclosures from emerging out. Adding to doubt are discrepancies in the declared demise of Nzimande. The postponement in furnishing some intelligence, the conflicting accounts on when finding was executed and the inconsistent health accounts have additionally intensified community suspicion. It is the perspective of opponents that the discrepancies indicate towards an aspiration to dominate the discourse and action aimed at concealing governmental confederates from examination. The executive has nevertheless dismissed down the assertions as governmentally propelled and completely unconfirmed. Representatives released a declaration in the authorized capacity terming the disclosure a defamation initiative directed at destabilizing the administration. But confidants characterize a much distinct situation, one of alarm and bewilderment within the governmental structures. Based on contacts, crisis gatherings have been executed behind private entrances, with surveillance and protection organizations being commanded to establish the identity of the informant behind the disclosure. A supreme ANC contact has been referenced as communicating by journalists that apprehension is controlling the organization. Individuals are apprehensive of responsibility. The contact declared, if the materials are discovered to be genuine, this will not only disturb the executive, but potentially reconstruct the ANC's prospect as an organization of administration. The violation has also stimulated generations-aged organizational grievances within the ANC. Veteran commanders and transformers are summoning for clarifications, charging President Ramaphosa's administration with concealing essential intelligence to protect supporters. Organization solidarity, previously precarious, is seemingly disintegrating beneath a cascade of charges. Opposition organizations have not been delayed in responding. The EFF, DA, and Action SA all have insisted an autonomous legislative investigation into the charges. EFF Commander Julius Malema was one of the initial to emerge publicly, stating this is a concealment. Somebody must assume responsibility. South Africans merit the reality. Within intervals of the intelligence emerging, digital platforms was in turmoil. Twitter hashtags including #Nzimando Files, #CoverUpExposed, and #Ramaphosa commenced circulating across the nation. Sequences were occupied with residents summoning for openness, responsibility, and accountability. Some even compared the circumstances to traditional governmental controversies that overthrew complete administrations, while others conjectured this might be the commencement of Ramaphosa's collapse. Governmental analysts cautioned that the circumstances can escalate out of management rapidly. Should the authenticity of the disclosed material be demonstrated, it could advance to a substantial national examination or even global examinations. Evaluators forecast that the ramifications extend beyond governance, involving matters of administration, protection, and the reputation of South Africa's representative establishments. Among the inquiries currently generating coverage are these. Did the executive understand about Nziman's findings? Did Supreme Administrators attempt to conceal or modify the intelligence he was positioned to make community? And most significantly, what, if anything, was the President's function in managing or potentially mismanaging the emergency that developed surrounding Nziman's elimination? This developing controversy is not merely a governmental disturbance. It discloses the fundamental divisions within the ANC, an organization extensively plagued by internal rivalry, philosophical separations, and perpetual struggle between transformation and graft. Disclosures such as these are no longer occasional occurrences. They are expressions of an organization dismantling itself internally. For the South African population, exasperation and exhaustion are assuming control. Residents suspect that every fresh graft revelation, every fresh governmental controversy erodes the nation's enthusiasm about transparent command. Residents are summoning for transparency, openness, and accountability. They desire the reality, not governmental performance. But until currently, the actuality is concealed beneath rejection, governance, and apprehension. The disclosed account, if anything, is only just the indication of what may be a much greater and more troubling narrative. If the charges are discovered to maintain validity, they possess the capacity to transform South Africa's governance and re-establish the limitations of executive responsibility.